It was a quiet Saturday morning when Daniel Harris wiped the grease from his hands and stood back from the half-repaired lawnmower in his driveway. His small suburban home sat on the edge of a sleepy town in Ohio, where the streets never seemed to wake up before 10. He had just finished tightening the last bolt when he heard the familiar creak of the front door. "Dad, the toaster doesn't work again," came the voice of his 10-year-old daughter, Emma. Daniel chuckled softly and set the wrench aside. "That toaster's older than me, sweetheart. Let's see if we can coax a few more breakfasts out of it before it gives up for good." Emma padded barefoot onto the porch, her messy brown hair sticking out at odd angles. She hugged her stuffed fox tightly, a toy that had been her comfort through every storm since her mother passed away 5 years ago. Daniel's chest tightened as he looked at her. Emma was his entire world. Raising her alone hadn't been easy. His days were a delicate dance of janitorial work at the local high school, odd repair jobs around town, and endless evenings of homework help and bedtime stories. But Daniel never complained. Love had a way of making the hardest burdens feel a little lighter. That morning, after fixing the toaster with a bit of tinkering and a bent paper clip, Daniel decided to take Emma to the park. The sun shone brightly, birds chirped in the branches, and for a while, it felt like the weight of the world wasn't pressing so hard against his shoulders. After an hour of pushing Emma on the swings and listening to her laugh echo across the field, Daniel heard a sound that made him pause, a motorcycle sputtering, choking, and finally going silent on the side of the road. He turned his head and saw a sleek black motorbike pulled up just beyond the park's entrance. A woman, dressed in jeans and a leather jacket, was bent over the engine, frustration etched across her face. "Can we help her, Dad?" Emma asked, her wide eyes already full of curiosity. Daniel hesitated. He didn't know much about motorcycles compared to cars or lawnmowers, but he wasn't about to leave someone stranded. "Stay here by the swings for a minute, Emmy. I'll see what I can do." As he approached, the woman looked up. Her dark hair was tucked under a helmet, and her sunglasses reflected his own worn-out figure back at him. She was beautiful in an unassuming, almost fragile way, though she carried herself with confidence. "Everything okay?" Daniel asked, his voice calm, kind, the way he always spoke to people who looked like they might be having a rough day. "Not really," she admitted with a laugh that didn't hide her frustration. "It just a broken bar died on me. I thought I could make it into the city, but apparently not. Mind if I take a look?" She stepped back with a small shrug. "Be my guest. I'm not having much luck." Daniel crouched beside the bike, rolling up his sleeves. Within moments his hands were searching, tightening, adjusting, his brow furrowed in concentration. The smell of oil and metal was nothing new to him. It reminded him of the long nights he'd spent fixing things in the school's maintenance shed or the weekends repairing broken appliances just to save a few dollars. After a little while, the engine gave a reluctant growl. Daniel grinned and patted the bike gently. "There you go. Not perfect, but it should get you where you're going. You'll want to have a mechanic look it over properly." The woman's face lit up. "That's amazing. I've been sitting here for 20 minutes trying to figure it out." "Thank you. Don't mention it," Daniel said, brushing his hands on his jeans. "Glad to help." She studied him for a moment longer than most strangers usually would, as though trying to see past the grease and the worn-out clothes into something deeper. Finally, she offered her hand. "I'm Claire." "Daniel." He shook her hand, surprised by the firmness of her grip. Emma came running over then, Fox clutched tightly in her arms. "Dad, is it fixed?" Daniel smiled. "Good as new." "Well, a broken bar good enough." Claire knelt slightly so she was on Emma's level. "Your dad's a superhero, you know that?" Emma giggled. "I already knew that." For some reason, the sound of her laugh made something soften in Claire's chest. She hadn't laughed like that in months. What Daniel didn't know, or what no one around them knew, was that Claire was not just any woman with a broken motorbike. She was Claire Donovan, heir to a multi-billion-dollar family empire in real estate and finance. For years, she had been living in a world where everyone wanted something from her money, her connections, her influence. But what she craved was something no wealth could buy: kindness without agenda, love without condition. And here was a man who had stopped without hesitation to help a stranger on the side of the road. A man who didn't ask who she was, or what she had, but simply saw someone in need. "Can I buy you a coffee, as a thank you?" Clara asked suddenly. Daniel looked taken aback. He opened his mouth, then closed it, then glanced at Emma. "You are broken bar, I appreciate that, but we should probably be heading home. Got chores waiting." Something about the simplicity of his answer struck Claire. He wasn't trying to impress her. He wasn't even curious. He was just a broken bar himself. "Another time, then," she said softly, though her mind was already turning over ways to cross paths with him again. Daniel tipped his head politely, then took Emma's hand. Together, they walked back toward their little car, while Claire sat on her bike and watched them leave, her heart pounding for reasons she didn't quite understand. That night, Daniel tucked Emma into bed and sat at the small kitchen table, bills spread out before him. The numbers never seemed to add up. No matter how many hours he worked, he rubbed his tired eyes, thinking about the woman with the motorbike. She had seemed a broken bar, different, not just beautiful, but genuine, like she carried a secret weight on her shoulders. He didn't expect to see her again, but fate had other plans. 2 days later, as Daniel was fixing a leaky faucet in the high school's staff lounge, a familiar voice drifted through the doorway. He froze, tightening the wrench in his hand a little too much. "Excuse me, I'm looking for the principal's office." Daniel turned, and there she was, Claire, standing in the hallway in a tailored suit that looked a world away from her leather jacket. Their eyes met, and for the first time in years, Daniel felt something stir in his chest that he thought he had buried with his grief. Claire's lips curved into a small smile. "Well, this is a surprise." Daniel, still holding the dripping wrench, could only shake his head and whisper, "You've got to be kidding me, a broken bar."